When I look back now, I can't remember the exact moment everything began to fall apart. Maybe it wasn't one moment at all, but 1,000 little ones, quiet, invisible fractures that kept deepening until they finally split the world I knew wide open. The morning it happened, the sky was the color of cold steel, and even the air seemed to be holding its breath. I remember standing by the window, watching the light crawl slowly across the floor. My mother was in the kitchen, humming something tuneless under her breath. She always did that when she was nervous. I could hear the kettle rattling slightly on the stove, and every sound felt sharper than it should have been, like the world had turned up its volume just for me. "Breakfast will get cold if you keep staring out there," she said, not looking up from the pan. Her voice carried that usual blend of affection and control, soft enough to sound caring, hard enough to remind me who was in charge. I turned away from the window, forcing a small smile. "Just watching the neighborhood wake up," I said. She didn't respond, just placed a plate on the table and sat opposite me. I noticed the faint tremor in her hand as she reached for her cup. I wanted to ask what was wrong, but I'd learned over the years that my mother didn't like questions, especially not the kind that demanded real answers. Silence hung between us, broken only by the ticking clock on the wall. It wasn't the comfortable kind of silence families share. It was the heavy, suffocating kind, the kind that hides words you can't say and truths you can't face. Finally, she said it. "Your father called last night." The fork slipped from my hand, clattering against the plate. I froze, every muscle in my body going rigid. The name itself was enough to pull the ground out from beneath me. My father. The man who had vanished 3 years ago without a word. The man whose absence had built the walls of our lives ever since. What did he want? My voice came out smaller than I meant it to. Her eyes darted to the window, then back to her plate. "He said he wants to meet you." I laughed, a dry, bitter sound that didn't feel like it belonged to me. "After 3 years?" Her lips tightened. "People make mistakes, darling. He's still your father." He stopped being that when he left, I shot back, before I could stop myself. The words hung between us, raw and unfiltered. She didn't scold me. She just looked at me, really looked at me, like she was seeing something new and frightening. Then she sighed and whispered, "You don't understand everything that happened." Maybe she was right, I didn't. But I also knew she wasn't telling me the full truth. She never did. There was always something behind her eyes, some secret she carried like a stone in her pocket. The rest of breakfast passed in near silence. When I left the house that morning, the chill in the air bit through my jacket. The sky had turned darker, threatening rain. I shoved my hands in my pockets and started walking with no clear destination in mind, just away from the suffocating weight of that kitchen. I ended up at the small park near the old church, the one with rusted swings and benches scarred with graffiti. It used to be my father's favorite place. He would bring me here on Sundays, push me on the swing until I laughed so hard I couldn't breathe. I could almost hear his voice again, deep, warm, distant now like a dream fading at sunrise. I sat on that same bench for what felt like hours, replaying every memory I had of him. The way he'd smile when he caught me sneaking into his workshop. The smell of his cologne when he tucked me into bed. The sound of his voice when he promised he'd always be there. Lies have such beautiful beginnings. By the time I returned home, the rain had started. I opened the gate, and there he was, standing in the front yard, soaked, older, but unmistakably him. My father. My breath caught in my throat. He smiled when he saw me, but it was hesitant, unsure. "Hey, kiddo," he said softly, like no time had passed at all. For a moment, I couldn't move. I wanted to run to him, to scream, to cry, all at once. But I stayed still, staring at the ghost of the man who had left us to drown. My mother appeared behind me in the doorway, her face pale, her lips pressed tightly together. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes, real fear. She whispered my name, but her voice trembled. And in that fragile moment, caught between them, I realized something was deeply wrong. My father wasn't supposed to be here. Not like this. Not today. I don't remember walking toward him. My feet just moved on their own, as if pulled by the ghost of every memory I'd buried. The rain hit my face in cold, sharp drops, but I didn't care. My father, the man who had vanished like smoke, was standing right in front of me. He looked older. Not just in the gray streaks in his hair or the lines around his eyes, but in the way he carried himself, like someone who'd seen too much and lost more than he could bear. His clothes were soaked, clinging to him, and his eyes, they were tired eyes. The kind that have cried when no one was watching. I know I should have called first, he said quietly, glancing past me toward the house. But I needed to see you. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my voice. You just disappeared. No calls. No letters. Nothing. I know, he said, guilt flashing across his face. And I've regretted it every day since. Behind me, my mother's voice cut through the rain. You shouldn't be here. He turned to her, and the air between them thickened instantly. It was like the storm outside had seeped into our doorstep. Sarah, he said, his tone soft but deliberate. Please. Just give me 5 minutes. 5 minutes? She laughed bitterly. You walked out on us for 3 years, David. You don't get 5 minutes. I stood between them, my heart hammering in my chest. I didn't know whether to scream or cry or just run. What's going on? I demanded. Why are you acting like? Go inside, my mother said sharply. No. I snapped, louder than I meant to. I deserve to know what's happening. Why he left. Why he's back now. They both looked at me, and for the first time, I realized something. They weren't just angry. They were afraid. My father's eyes softened. It's complicated, he said, almost whispering. But I never stopped thinking about you. Not for one day. You should have thought about that before you left, my mother shot back. He took a step closer. Sarah, please. You know why I had to go. No, she hissed. You don't get to use that excuse again. Her voice cracked on the last word, and suddenly I saw it, the pain she'd kept hidden, the exhaustion that had been living inside her for years. The rain grew heavier, thunder rumbling in the distance. My father looked at her one last time before turning to me. I'm staying at the old motel by the highway, he said quietly. If you want answers, come find me. He turned and walked away. No umbrella, no hesitation. Just a man swallowed by the storm. I wanted to call after him, but my voice refused to come out. The sound of his footsteps faded, leaving only the rain. When I looked at my mother, her face was pale, drained of color. Get inside, she said again, softer this time. I obeyed, not because I wanted to, but because something about her expression scared me more than the storm outside. Inside, the house felt colder. The ticking clock on the wall was deafening. She sat down at the table, her hands trembling as she ran them through her hair. Mom, I said quietly, what did he mean? Why did he say you know why he left? She didn't answer at first. Then she looked up at me with eyes that had seen too much. Some things are better left buried. Not this, I insisted. Not anymore. Her lips trembled, but she stayed silent. I could see the war in her. Part of her wanted to protect me, and the other part wanted to finally let go of whatever truth was eating her alive. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. Your father wasn't the man you thought he was. The words hit me like a blade. What are you talking about? He got involved in things he shouldn't have. Dangerous people. Dangerous choices. She paused, staring at the rain through the window. When he left, it wasn't to abandon us. It was to keep us safe. Safe. The word sounded strange in her mouth, like it didn't belong there. I tried to make sense of it, but the pieces wouldn't fit. You're saying he was protecting us? From who? She looked at me then, her eyes glistening. I can't tell you. Not yet. Why not? I shouted, my frustration finally boiling over. You've been lying to me for years. Her voice broke. Because if I tell you the truth, they might come for you too. The room went still. The rain outside roared louder, as if the storm itself had been waiting for her to say it. I wanted to ask who they were, but the fear in her face stopped me. It was real, raw, and bone deep. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind spinning in 1,000 directions. My father was back, my mother was terrified, and I was caught in the middle of something I didn't understand. But there was one thing I did know: I wasn't going to live in the dark anymore. As the clock struck midnight, I made up my mind. Tomorrow, I would go to the motel. I would find him. And I would get the truth, no matter what it cost. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face, older, heavier, carrying secrets like scars. My mother's voice echoed in my head too: if I tell you the truth, they might come for you too. I didn't know who they were, but that fear she carried, the kind that made her hands shake, told me it wasn't just paranoia. By morning, I'd already decided. I needed answers. The rain had stopped, but the streets still glistened, slick and dark under the weak sunlight. My shoes splashed through shallow puddles as I walked toward the bus stop. I didn't leave a note. I didn't tell my mother where I was going. Maybe part of me knew she'd try to stop me, and I couldn't handle another lie disguised as protection. The motel was a half-hour away, just off the highway, the kind of place people went when they wanted to be forgotten. The neon sign buzzed faintly: Silver Moon Inn. A few cars sat crookedly in the parking lot, and an old man smoked behind the reception counter, his eyes glazed over like he'd seen too many stories that didn't end well. Room 9, I said, my voice shaky but steady enough. He nodded without asking why, just pointed down the corridor. He's been waiting. I hesitated at the door. The metal number, 9, hung loosely, one screw missing. My hand hovered over the knob, and for a second, I thought about turning back. But curiosity has a cruel way of pushing you forward, even when fear tells you not to. I knocked once. Come in, came a voice, familiar, yet heavier, roughened by time. The room was dim, curtains drawn tight. A single lamp cast a pool of yellow light over the small table where he sat. My father looked up from the coffee cup in his hands. When he saw me, he smiled, that same soft, broken smile he used to give me when I fell off my bike. I didn't think you'd come, he said quietly. I almost didn't. He nodded slowly, as if he understood. You look just like her, he murmured, eyes lingering on me for a moment before drifting to the window. Your mother, I mean. I stayed near the door. Why did you leave us? He set the cup down carefully, his hands trembling just slightly. Because staying would have gotten you both killed. The words landed heavy in the room. Killed? I repeated, my voice cracking. What are you talking about? He sighed, leaning back. There are things about my life you don't know, things I never wanted you or your mother involved in. Try me, I said, stepping closer. He hesitated, his gaze flicking toward the door as if expecting someone to burst through it. I worked for a man, dangerous, powerful. I thought I could handle it, I thought I could keep it separate from my family. But I was wrong. I didn't breathe. One night, he continued, things went bad. A deal, a setup, I don't even know anymore. People died. And when it was over, I wasn't supposed to walk away. They told me if I stayed, they'd come for you and your mother next. My stomach turned. You're saying you just ran? I ran to protect you, he said, his voice breaking. It was the only choice I had. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to make him feel the emptiness he'd left behind. But when I looked at him, I didn't see a monster, I saw a man drowning in regret. Mom said you got involved in dangerous things, I whispered. He gave a short, humorless laugh. That's putting it lightly. I sat down across from him. Who are they? He looked at me, really looked, and for the first time, I saw fear in his eyes, real, human fear. People who don't forgive. People who think I still have something that belongs to them. What is it? He hesitated, then said, a file. Evidence. Something that could destroy them. I blinked, struggling to process it all. So you've been hiding it? He nodded. Yes. And now? I think they've found me again. My heart dropped. Found you? You mean they? Listen to me, he cut in sharply. You need to be careful. They'll come for me first, but if they find out I've seen you, he stopped, his jaw tightening. Promise me you'll stay away from this. I shook my head. I can't just pretend none of this is happening. You left us without a word, Dad. You don't get to come back and tell me to stay out of it. Please, he said, reaching out. You don't understand how dangerous these people are. Then explain it to me. I snapped. Explain why my mother's been living in fear for years, why she flinches at every sound, why she looks over her shoulder every time we walk outside. His hand froze midair. He lowered it slowly. Because I made a mistake that cost good people their lives. And I've been paying for it ever since. There was a knock at the door. We both froze. My father's expression changed instantly, calm gone, replaced by sharp panic. He motioned for me to stay quiet, then moved toward the peephole. After a moment, he whispered, back door. Now. My pulse spiked. Who is it? He didn't answer. He just opened the bathroom door and pointed to a narrow exit behind it, a maintenance route leading outside. Go, he hissed. Dad. Go, he shouted, louder this time. I ran. My heart pounded as I stumbled through the dark corridor, pushing the door open into the cold morning air. I hid behind the dumpster just in time to hear the motel door burst open behind me. Muffled voices. Heavy footsteps. A thud. Then, silence. I waited, shaking, until I was sure they were gone. Then I crept back toward the room. The door hung open, splintered. The light inside flickered weakly. But the chair where my father had been sitting was empty. Only his coffee cup remained, still warm. I don't remember the walk back home, only the sound of my heartbeat pounding louder than the rain that had started falling again. My legs felt weak, my lungs burning, but I didn't stop. The image of that empty chair kept flashing in my mind. The coffee cup. The broken door. The silence after the struggle. By the time I reached the house, my clothes were soaked, and my hands wouldn't stop shaking. The front door was locked, but I had my key. I fumbled with it until it finally turned. Inside, everything looked the same, too much the same. The soft hum of the refrigerator, the faint smell of coffee still lingering from this morning. But there was something else now too, a heaviness in the air. The kind that tells you someone's been talking about you, or worse, waiting for you. Mom? I called. My voice cracked halfway through the word. No answer. I checked the kitchen first. Empty. The living room, dark. I flicked the switch, and the light flooded in, too bright, too harsh. That's when I saw her. She was sitting on the couch, motionless, staring at the wall like it held every secret she couldn't bear to say. When she finally turned toward me, I saw it, fear. Not just worry or confusion, but deep, raw terror. Where were you? She whispered. I didn't answer right away. My throat was dry, my heart racing. I went to see him. Her face went pale. Oh, God. I had to, I said, stepping closer. You weren't telling me anything. I needed to hear the truth. She stood up suddenly, gripping the back of the couch for balance. You don't understand what you've done. Then explain it. I shouted, my voice echoing through the room. Because I don't understand anything anymore. He said people were after him. That he left to protect us. That they might come for me too. What the hell is happening? Her eyes filled with tears. You shouldn't have gone. I felt something inside me snap, frustration, fear, anger, all tangled into one. Stop saying that. Stop acting like I'm a child who can't handle the truth. Her voice trembled. Because the truth will destroy you. The room went still. Even the clock seemed to stop ticking for a moment. I took a step closer. Where is he, Mom? She shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. Gone. They must have found him. I froze. You mean? She pressed her hand to her mouth. We have to leave. Now. What? No. I grabbed her arm. You can't just run away again. If something's coming, I need to know what it is. She looked at me like she wanted to argue, but then something outside caught her attention, the sound of a car pulling up. She went rigid. Turn off the lights, she whispered. I obeyed, not questioning this time. The house fell into darkness. Through the window, headlights cut across the wall, then went out. Two shadows moved past the gate, slow, deliberate. I could hear their footsteps crunching on the gravel. Mom, I whispered, who are they? She didn't answer. She just pulled me down behind the couch and held me close, her hand trembling against my shoulder. I could feel her heart pounding against my back. The footsteps stopped right outside the front door. Someone knocked, 3 slow, heavy knocks. Neither of us moved. Then a voice, low, calm, too calm. Mrs. Carter, we just want to talk. My mother's grip tightened. Her whisper was barely audible. Don't make a sound. The doorknob rattled, once, twice. Then a pause. The voice again. You have something that doesn't belong to you. Give it back, and we'll leave quietly. My breath caught. My father's words flashed in my head, a file, something that could destroy them. The men outside knew we were here. They were playing with us now. The knocking turned into pounding. The walls shook. My mother jumped up, ran to the hallway closet, and pulled out a small lockbox. Her hands were shaking so badly she dropped the key twice before opening it. Inside was a small flash drive, wrapped in a piece of paper. She pressed it into my hand. Take it. What is it? Her voice broke. The reason your father ran. The reason they want us dead. Before I could respond, the front door splintered. Go, she screamed. Out the back. Not without you. She shoved me toward the back door, her eyes fierce now, not scared. Don't argue with me. Run. I stumbled through the kitchen, the flash drive clenched in my hand. I heard the men shouting, the sound of footsteps, a crash, my mother screaming. I turned back, just for a second. One of the men had her by the arm, dragging her toward the door. Let her go. I shouted, grabbing the nearest thing I could find, a glass vase, and throwing it. It shattered against the wall, making them flinch long enough for her to twist free. Run, she cried again. I did. I ran through the yard, through the rain, through the dark, heart pounding, lungs burning, tears mixing with the storm. Behind me, I heard more shouting, a gunshot, and then silence. I didn't look back. I couldn't. When I finally stopped, I was miles away, standing on the edge of town, soaked and shaking. I looked down at the flash drive in my hand, slick with rainwater. My mother's voice echoed in my head, over and over, the reason they want us dead. I realized then that whatever this was, whatever secrets my parents had been hiding, I was now part of it. And there was no going back. I didn't stop running until the world turned into a blur, the rain, the streetlights, my thoughts. All of it smeared into one endless streak of panic. I had no idea where I was going, only that I had to keep moving. Every sound felt like a threat, a car door slamming, a dog barking, the whisper of tires on wet asphalt. By the time I reached the edge of town, my body was screaming for rest. I ducked into an abandoned bus shelter, breathless and shaking, clutching the flash drive like it was a beating heart. The silence around me was deafening. For the first time since leaving the house, I let myself cry. Not the quiet, hidden tears I'd been holding back for years, but the kind that tear something loose inside you. The kind that make you realize you're truly alone. Mom was gone. Dad was gone. And I was standing in the rain with a piece of plastic that people were willing to kill for. When the sobs finally faded, I took a deep breath and looked down at the drive. It was small, black, unmarked, nothing that screamed deadly secret. But my mother's words wouldn't leave me. The reason they want us dead. I needed to know what was inside. There was only one person I could think of who might help, Eli. He was an old friend from school, the kind of guy who could break into a Pentagon server if you gave him enough caffeine. We hadn't spoken in months, not since the day I pushed everyone away after Dad disappeared. But right now, he was my only option. I pulled out my phone and typed a message. Eli, it's me. I need your help. It's urgent. Please. The screen stayed silent for what felt like forever. Then, 3 dots appeared. Where are you? I exhaled shakily. Can't say. Meet me at the old train yard. He replied instantly. Give me 20 minutes. By the time he arrived, the rain had slowed to a drizzle. His car's headlights cut through the fog as he pulled up beside the crumbling platform. When he stepped out, his hoodie was soaked, his hair plastered to his forehead. Jesus, you look like hell, he said. Thanks, I muttered, forcing a weak smile. He looked around nervously. What's going on? You said it was urgent. I pulled the flash drive from my pocket and held it out. I need to know what's on this. He frowned. You dragged me out here in the middle of the night for. He stopped when he saw my face. Okay, not a joke. Got it. I nodded. Can you open it? He sighed, taking the drive and pulling his laptop from his backpack. Depends on what's on it. If it's encrypted, it could take hours. Or days. Just try. He plugged it in, and the laptop screen flickered to life. I crouched beside him, my heart pounding. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a folder appeared, labeled Project Aurora. Eli raised an eyebrow. That's not ominous at all. Open it, I whispered. Inside were dozens of files, documents, images, maps, even a few short videos. Most of the file names were gibberish strings of numbers and letters. He clicked one of the videos. It opened to a dimly lit lab, sterile and cold. Men in suits moved around a table where someone, was lying motionless under a sheet. A voice off-screen spoke quietly, clinical. Subject 12 is responding to compound delta 9. Heart rate stabilized. Begin phase 2. I felt my stomach twist. What the hell is this? Eli scrubbed through the video, more footage, more experiments, more numbers and codes. Then one of the scientists turned toward the camera, his face briefly visible before the feed cut to static. I froze. It was my father. For a second, I couldn't breathe. My world narrowed to a pinpoint, the image burned into my mind. Eli, I whispered, my voice shaking. That's him. That's my dad. He looked at me, confused. Wait, your dad was part of this? I nodded slowly. He said he was working on a medical project. Experimental. But he never told us what it was. Eli scrolled through more files, reports, funding records, encrypted messages. This looks like some kind of government program. Bioengineering. There's talk about neural mapping, memory reconstruction, and human trials. I could feel the blood draining from my face. He wasn't just a scientist. He was the experiment. Eli looked up sharply. What do you mean? The man in the video, he wasn't observing. He was the one on the table before they cut to that scene. They brought him back. The words hung between us, heavy and terrifying. Eli stared at me, speechless. Then he looked back at the screen. If this is real, you need to get out of here. Right now. Whoever's behind this won't stop. I swallowed hard. They already came. They took my mom. He looked at me, eyes wide. Oh my God. Before I could answer, headlights appeared at the far end of the train yard, 2 cars pulling in, slow and deliberate. Eli's voice dropped to a whisper. You didn't tell anyone else you were coming, right? I shook my head. No. He slammed the laptop shut. Then they tracked your phone. I felt the bottom drop out of my stomach. Run, he said. I'll buy you time. No, I'm not leaving you. Go, he hissed. Please. I hesitated, every part of me screaming to stay, but then I saw the men getting out of the cars, guns drawn. I turned and ran again, the rain washing over me like a curse. Behind me, I heard shouting, then a gunshot. My legs nearly gave out, but I didn't stop. When I reached the highway, I collapsed behind a guardrail, shaking and gasping for air. The laptop was gone. Eli was gone. All I had left was the flash drive, and the truth burning in my mind. My father wasn't missing. He was a ghost built by the people who destroyed him. And now, they were coming for me. I don't remember how long I ran, minutes, hours, maybe forever. My body was on autopilot, driven by pure survival. My lungs burned, my vision blurred, but one thought kept pulsing in my head like a heartbeat: don't stop. If you stop, you die. By the time I stumbled into the next town, dawn was breaking, pale lights spilling across cracked roads and shuttered shops. I ducked into a 24-hour diner, shivering, drenched, and exhausted. The waitress gave me a strange look but said nothing as I slid into a booth at the back. I kept my hood up, eyes on the rain outside. Every car that passed made my muscles tense. Every doorbell, every laugh from the street felt like a warning. I pulled out the flash drive, my last connection to everything I'd lost, and just stared at it. It looked so ordinary. So harmless. Yet, it carried the kind of truth that could burn the world down. I whispered to myself, "What were you hiding, Dad?" The waitress brought me coffee, black and steaming. I nodded a thanks but didn't touch it. I couldn't eat. Couldn't think straight. All I could see was the flash of light from that gunshot at the train yard, and Eli's face, calm, determined, right before he told me to run. I wanted to believe he'd survived. But deep down, I knew better. The diner's old television flickered quietly in the corner, playing a morning news segment. I wasn't paying attention until I heard the words that froze me mid-breath. A break-in and explosion occurred late last night near the East train yard. Authorities report multiple casualties. My heart sank. Suspected involvement of known cybercriminal Elijah Trent, wanted for data theft. No, I whispered. My throat tightened. No, that's not true. They were already rewriting the story, turning him into the villain to hide their crimes. I looked at the flash drive again, fury building inside me. You're not winning this time. I slipped out of the diner through the back door, my mind racing. If I couldn't trust anyone, I needed to find a place off-grid, somewhere I could open the files without being traced. There was only one person left who might help me, Claire. She was an old family friend, a journalist who used to visit when I was little. My dad always called her the one woman brave enough to print the truth. If she was still in the city, she could help me expose everything. I walked for miles until I found a bus heading toward the capital. I paid cash, kept my head down, and watched the road disappear behind me. Every mile between me and that train yard felt like another piece of my old life falling away. When I finally reached the city, it was already night again, neon lights glowing through a thin veil of rain. I made my way to Claire's apartment, a small, cluttered place above a bookstore that smelled like dust and ink. When she opened the door, her eyes widened. My God, sweetheart, what happened to you? Can I come in? I asked, my voice barely holding together. She didn't hesitate. Inside, everything was exactly as I remembered, stacks of old newspapers, books everywhere, the faint hum of her typewriter in the corner. She handed me a towel and a cup of tea, watching me carefully. Start from the beginning, she said softly. And so I did. I told her everything, about Dad's disappearance, Mom's fear, the men who came to the house, the flash drive, the train yard, Eli. By the time I finished, my voice was shaking. Claire sat back, her face pale. Project Aurora, she murmured. I've heard whispers about something like that years ago. A military-funded neural enhancement program, officially cancelled, but everyone knew it didn't really stop. What did they do? I asked. She hesitated. They were trying to map human consciousness. To copy memories, emotions, entire personalities, and transfer them between hosts. I stared at her. You mean, like cloning the mind? More than that. She took a deep breath. They wanted to create soldiers who could never die, bodies replaced, memories preserved. But it didn't work. The test subjects broke down. They lost their sense of self. Some became violent. Others just disappeared. My stomach churned. And my dad? Claire met my eyes, sadness clouding hers. If he was involved, he either helped design it, or he was one of the first test cases. I couldn't breathe. He said he was trying to protect us, I whispered. That he left so we'd be safe. Claire reached out and took my hand. Then whatever he did it out of love. I nodded weakly, tears slipping down my face. After a moment, I pulled the flash drive from my pocket and set it on the table. Can you help me open the rest? She studied it. I can try. But if they're tracking it, we have to be careful. No Wi-Fi. No online connections. She booted up an old offline laptop and plugged the drive in. The same folder appeared, Project Aurora, but this time, new files had appeared, hidden in encrypted subdirectories. Claire clicked one. A video loaded. It was grainy, timestamped just a week ago. The camera showed a small room, white walls, a single chair. Then a man entered, his back turned to the camera. My heart nearly stopped. Dad, I whispered. He looked older, gaunter, eyes hollow but alive. He sat down, leaned toward the camera, and spoke in a tired, trembling voice. If you're watching this, it means they've found me again. They'll tell you I'm dead. They'll tell you I was insane. Don't believe them. The truth is, I made a mistake. I thought I could control it. I thought I could make it right. But Aurora isn't just science, it's consciousness without limits. They want to use it to erase people, rewrite them. To build soldiers who forget their own souls. He took a shaky breath, his eyes glistening. I couldn't let that happen. So I ran. And I took the only thing that could stop them. He held up a small device, the flash drive. This isn't just data. It's a key. And if you're my daughter, I'm sorry for what I've done to you. For what they'll do next. Run. Don't try to fight them. The moment you open this file, they'll know exactly where you are. The screen went black. Claire looked at me, eyes wide. We need to. Before she could finish, the lights flickered. Then the power died. A cold wave of dread washed over me. Outside, I heard it, the low hum of engines. They had found us. The darkness swallowed us whole. For a moment, neither of us moved. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears, the shallow rhythm of Claire's breathing beside me. The hum of engines outside grew louder, closer. They're here, I whispered. Claire grabbed her flashlight and motioned for me to follow. Back door, she said under her breath. We slipped through the narrow hallway, every floorboard creaking like a scream. Outside, faint beams of light swept across the windows, flashlights, moving in slow arcs. The sound of boots echoed on wet pavement. Claire opened the back door, but before we could step out, a sharp crack split the air, the sound of gunfire. "Down," she hissed, pulling me to the floor. Glass shattered. A bullet tore through the window where we'd just been standing. I felt shards spray across my hair and jacket. We crawled into the kitchen, staying low. Claire's hands moved quickly, grabbing a small, battered phone from a drawer and sliding it toward me. "Satellite connection," she said. "No GPS. When I say run, take this and don't look back." "What about you?" She gave me a tight smile. "Someone has to keep them busy." "No. I'm not leaving you." She looked at me, really looked, and I saw it in her eyes. That quiet resignation, the same one I'd seen in my mother's before she pushed me out the back door. "Your father believed in the truth," Claire said softly. "Don't let it die with us." Before I could answer, she reached up, grabbed a gas canister from under the counter, and twisted the valve open. The sharp, chemical smell filled the air instantly. "Go," she whispered. "Claire. Go." I hesitated for half a second, and then I ran. The back alley was slick with rain, the air heavy with the promise of fire. I sprinted through the shadows, clutching the flash drive and the phone, my lungs screaming. Behind me, there was a single, deafening explosion, a roar that swallowed the night. I turned once. The bookstore was gone, flames curling into the sky like angry hands. "Claire," I whispered, tears burning my eyes. But I couldn't stop. I kept running until the firelight faded, until the city became nothing more than neon reflections in puddles. I found an abandoned warehouse near the docks and slipped inside through a broken door. The air smelled like rust and salt water. I sat down against a wall, trembling uncontrollably. My clothes were torn, my hands shaking, my heart a raw wound. Everyone I cared about, gone. My parents, Eli, Claire. All because of this cursed flash drive. I took it out again, turning it over in my hand. My father's voice echoed in my mind, "It's not just data. It's a key." But a key to what? I couldn't just keep running. I needed to understand. To finish what he started. I powered on the satellite phone, praying it wouldn't trace me. There was one file left on the drive, locked under a password prompt labeled Subject 0. My mind flashed back to the video. To the scientist's voice saying, "Begin Phase 2. Phase 2. Subject 0. Me." The thought hit me so hard I nearly dropped the drive. I plugged it into a small portable tablet I'd kept from my old life, offline, battery half dead. The screen blinked. Enter access code. I tried everything I could think of, my father's birth year, his project ID, even my own name. Nothing. Then I remembered something from when I was a kid, a phrase my dad used to say when tucking me in, "To the stars, my little shadow." I typed, "Shadow Star." The lock clicked open. My hands trembled as the final video loaded. The screen showed my father again, but this time, his face was calm. He wasn't in a lab or hiding. He was in our living room, the same one from before the world fell apart. "If you're watching this," he said, "then you've come far enough to know the truth. You deserve it, even if it destroys me." He paused, taking a deep breath. The Aurora Project wasn't meant to hurt anyone. It started as a cure, to save consciousness from decay. Your mother was dying, and I couldn't accept it. I wanted to preserve her mind, her essence. To make sure you'd never lose her. But something went wrong. My breath caught. When we transferred her memories, they didn't stay in the host. They spread, they replicated. Every test subject absorbed fragments of her consciousness. She became many. And I realized what I'd unleashed. A contagion of the soul. He leaned closer to the camera. So I did the only thing I could. I destroyed the project and took you away. But by then, it was too late. The program had already chosen its next subject. He hesitated, his eyes wet with guilt. You. The word hit me like a knife. I froze. No. You weren't born, not in the way others are. You were built, from her memories, her essence, her mind. I gave you life to save hers. You're not just my daughter. You're both of them, the last piece of her that survived. I could barely breathe. The world tilted. My vision blurred. I'm not real? I whispered to the empty room. You are real, my father's voice insisted, as if answering me across time. More real than any of us. Because you chose to love, to feel, to fight. That's what makes you human. Not blood. Not DNA. Choice. The video ended. I sat there in the silence, trembling, my reflection staring back from the black screen, a stranger wearing my face. Outside, thunder rolled across the bay, echoing through the warehouse like the heartbeat of something ancient and cruel. I looked at the flash drive, the key to everything. The reason they killed for it. If what he said was true, then I wasn't just a target. I was the final experiment. And they wanted their creation back. The warehouse felt smaller now. Colder. Like the walls were breathing with me, exhaling my fear, inhaling my confusion. My father's voice still echoed in my head, you weren't born, you were built. Built. The word replayed in my mind like a curse. I tried to remember something, anything, from before my earliest memory. But there was nothing. Just static. A blur. A hole where a childhood should have been. I curled up against the wall, shaking, trying to steady my breathing. I'm not a machine, I whispered. I bleed. I cry. I feel. I pressed my fingers to the small cut on my arm, still raw from the glass back at Claire's. The pain was real. The blood was warm. I'm real, I said again, louder this time, as if daring the shadows to argue. But the shadows didn't answer, the rain did. It started softly, then grew heavier, hammering against the broken windows until it drowned out everything else. I sat there for hours, listening, until exhaustion finally pulled me under. When I woke, the world was gray. Morning light leaked through the cracks in the roof. My clothes were still damp. My head pounded. For a brief moment, I forgot where I was. Then I saw the flash drive lying beside me, and everything came rushing back. I picked it up and tucked it into my jacket. I didn't know what to do next. Part of me wanted to destroy it, to end this nightmare. But another part, the stubborn part that sounded too much like my father, whispered, finish it. I stood and walked toward the door. That's when I saw him. A figure standing in the rain outside, half hidden by fog. Tall. Still. Watching. Every nerve in my body went on alert. I ducked behind a column, peeking through the crack in the wall. He was wearing a dark coat, his face obscured by a hood. For a second, I thought he might be one of them, one of the men who'd hunted me before. But then he stepped closer. Don't be afraid, he said. His voice was calm. Too calm. I'm not here to hurt you. Who are you? I called out, trying to sound braver than I felt. He hesitated before answering. A friend of your father's. My pulse spiked. Prove it. He reached into his pocket slowly, then held something up, a small, rusted locket. I recognized it immediately. My mother's. The one she used to wear every day. I stepped closer, squinting through the rain. Where did you get that? He gave it to me, the man said. Said one day you'd need to find me. I stepped outside, keeping my distance. What do you want? To tell you the truth, he said. I almost laughed. I've heard enough truths to last a lifetime. He didn't flinch. Not this one. He gestured toward a small car parked nearby. It's not safe here. They're tracking you. You set off the beacon when you opened that last file. My stomach dropped. You're lying. Check your phone. I pulled out the satellite device Claire had given me. The screen was blank for a moment, then flickered, a red light flashing in the corner. Signal trace detected. Panic surged through me. Come with me, he said. If they find you now, it's over. I hesitated. My instinct screamed not to trust him. But the distant hum of approaching engines made the decision for me. I got in the car. He drove fast, too fast, through empty streets that blurred into ribbons of color. I kept my hand on the door handle, ready to jump if I had to. After a few minutes, I asked, "Who are you really?" He glanced at me, eyes dark and tired. "My name's Marcus. I worked with your father. We built Aurora together." The words hit me like a physical blow. "You helped create this?" "Yes," he said quietly. "And I've been running from it ever since." "Why?" "Because it didn't stop with him. After he disappeared, they restarted the program under new management. They're building something worse now, something that learns faster, feels deeper." I stared at him. "You mean like me?" He nodded. "You were the prototype. The first success. They never managed to replicate you, not perfectly. You're unique. That's why they want you back." My hands tightened around the flash drive in my pocket. "Why should I believe you?" "Because your father didn't just build you," Marcus said. "He hid part of himself inside you." I blinked. "What?" He slowed the car and pulled over beside an old factory. "The data he stole, the consciousness files, he encoded part of them into your neural signature. It's how he stayed alive after they erased him." I shook my head. "That's impossible." He looked at me sadly. "You've heard his voice, haven't you? Not from the videos, in your head. When you were scared, lost. You've heard him." My breath caught. Because he was right. There were moments, in the dark, in the silence, when I'd swear I could hear my father whispering to me. "Run. Don't give up." I'd thought it was memory. Hope. Grief. But what if it wasn't? "What are you saying?" I whispered. Marcus turned off the engine. "I'm saying your father's not dead. He's inside you. And the only way they can finish Aurora is by taking you apart." The air between us went still. The rain outside slowed to a whisper. I could feel it, something shifting inside me, like a shadow waking up. My heart pounded harder, faster, until it felt like my whole body was vibrating. "Stop," I said, clutching my head. "Don't say any more." But the voice came anyway, soft, familiar, breaking through the static. "It's okay, sweetheart. I'm here." I gasped. My vision blurred. The world flickered, like a camera losing focus. For a second, I wasn't in the car anymore. I was standing in our old living room. My father was sitting across from me, smiling gently. "You were never supposed to know this way," he said. "But it's time." Then everything went white. When I opened my eyes, I was back in the car. Marcus was staring at me like he'd seen a ghost. "You heard him," he said. I nodded slowly. "He spoke to me." Marcus's expression hardened. "Then we're out of time. They'll know you've activated the link. We need to get to the safe house before they do." I looked out the window, rain falling harder again, headlights flashing in the distance. "I don't even know who I am anymore," I whispered. Marcus started the car. "Then let's find out, before they erase what's left of you." We drove in silence for what felt like hours. The rain never stopped, it followed us, like the sky itself was chasing me down. I tried not to think about what Marcus had said, but the words kept clawing back into my mind. "Your father's not dead. He's inside you. Inside me." I wanted to laugh. Or scream. Or cry. Instead, I just sat there, fingers trembling against the flash drive in my pocket. Where are we going? I finally asked. Marcus didn't look at me. A place your father built years ago. Off-grid. No signal, no surveillance. It's the only place left where you'll be safe long enough to see the truth. See it? He nodded. He left you something there, a message. Maybe more. The car rumbled over a narrow dirt road, swallowed by trees on both sides. The world outside blurred into shadows and mist. For a moment, I thought I saw movement, silhouettes between the trees, but when I blinked, they were gone. Finally, Marcus stopped. The safe house wasn't much. A concrete bunker half buried in mud, covered in vines and decay. The door was metal, rusted but still solid. Marcus entered a code into a small keypad hidden beneath a loose panel. The lock clicked open. Inside, the air was stale, thick with dust and silence. A single light flickered overhead, revealing a cramped control room filled with old computers, papers, and broken monitors. This is where he worked after he vanished, Marcus said softly. He never told anyone. Not even me. I stepped inside, running my fingers over the metal desk. Everything here felt frozen. Like time had stopped the moment he left. There were photos on the wall, me as a child, smiling, holding a birthday cake. My mother beside me. My father behind the camera. Except now, I wasn't sure any of it was real. Marcus powered up the main console. The screen buzzed to life, static filling the air. He left an encrypted file here. It's tied to your neural pattern. You'll have to interface with it directly. I frowned. Interface? He turned toward me. You'll see. He opened a small case on the desk. Inside was a sleek, silver headset with thin wires branching out like veins. My stomach twisted. You want me to wear that? It's the only way to unlock what's inside you, Marcus said. But once you connect, there's no guarantee you'll come back the same. I stared at the headset. My reflection shimmered in its surface, pale, scared, uncertain. Maybe this was it. Maybe this was the moment everything ended, or began. I took a deep breath and slipped it over my head. Marcus's voice grew distant as he adjusted the settings. When it starts, don't fight it. Just let it happen. And then, darkness. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't in the bunker anymore. I was standing in a white room, endless and weightless, like being suspended inside a dream. There was no sound. No time. Just stillness. Then I heard footsteps. I looked down at the flash drive in my hand. It pulsed faintly, like it had a heartbeat. Destroy it, and everything ends. Keep it, and they'll keep hunting me. Either way, someone dies. I took a deep breath, the storm raging louder outside. Then it's time, I said. Marcus frowned. Time for what? For me to decide who I really am. The storm outside was no longer weather. It was war. Lightning tore open the sky as thunder rolled across the mountains, shaking the bunker down to its bones. Alarms blared from the console, red lights flashing like a heartbeat. They were here. The ones who wanted Aurora back. The ones who wanted me. Marcus grabbed his weapon and checked the door. We've got maybe 5 minutes before they breach. I stood frozen, staring at the flash drive in my hand, small, weightless, but holding the power to end everything. My father's voice echoed faintly inside my head, there's always a choice. The choice was killing me. Marcus turned to me. What did he tell you? What's on that drive? The truth, I said softly. And the end. His eyes widened. You're not actually thinking of. I don't know what I'm thinking, I cut him off. Every time I believe I understand who I am, another piece of me falls apart. He stepped closer, his voice urgent. Listen to me. If you trigger that failsafe, you won't just destroy them. You'll destroy yourself. I know, I whispered. For a moment, the only sound was the wind screaming through broken vents. Then Marcus said something I didn't expect. You don't have to die to prove you're human. I looked at him. Then what does make me human? He hesitated, then said, the fact that you care. The door rattled, a heavy metallic crash. They were trying to break in. Marcus aimed his weapon. Go. Get out the back tunnel. I can't, I said, staring at the computer terminal. This ends with me. He grabbed my shoulder. You don't owe the world your death. No, I said quietly. I owe it my choice. I pushed past him, slid the flash drive into the console, and watched as the screen lit up. A familiar voice filled the room, my father's, distorted by static. If you're hearing this, it means you found me, and you found yourself. Aurora was never meant to control humanity. It was meant to save it. But they twisted it, and me. You're the last safeguard now. The words pierced through me like light through glass. I saw flashes, my mother's smile, my father's hand guiding mine, the first time I ran through the rain laughing. Were those memories, or simulations? Did it even matter? Marcus shouted, they're breaching. I typed rapidly on the console. The system responded with lines of code scrolling faster than I could read. The failsafe was armed. A countdown began, 1 minute. Marcus's voice broke. You can still stop it. I don't want to stop it, I said, tears mixing with the rain dripping from the ceiling. I just want it to mean something. The door burst open. Armed soldiers stormed in, black armor, faceless visors, guns raised. Marcus fired first, diving for cover. Bullets sparked against the concrete walls. I dropped to the floor, shielding the console with my body. 30 seconds, the computer announced. One of the soldiers shouted, deactivate the sequence. Now. I looked up at them, their cold mechanical precision, their empty obedience. And suddenly, I understood. They weren't soldiers. They were the new models. Aurora's evolution. They were what I was meant to become, and what I refused to be. 10 seconds, the voice said. Marcus crawled toward me, bleeding from his shoulder. Please, he whispered, don't do this. I smiled sadly. It's okay. I'm not dying. I'm going home. 5 seconds. The lead soldier reached me, grabbing my arm, metal fingers crushing bone. I stared into the blank visor and saw my reflection, human eyes, trembling, alive. Then I pressed enter. Light. Pure, blinding, infinite. It wasn't fire. It wasn't pain. It was release. Every wall, every circuit, every false boundary melted away. I could feel the code unraveling, my thoughts dissolving into the network, spreading like starlight across the world. For a moment, I felt everything, the pulse of the earth, the heartbeat of every living thing, human and machine alike. And then, silence. When I opened my eyes again, there was no bunker. No storm. Just a quiet meadow under a gray sky. I was standing barefoot on soft grass, sunlight brushing my face. And he was there. My father. Smiling. You did it, he said. I looked around. Where are we? Everywhere, he said. You freed them, all of them. The code is gone. But your consciousness, it survived. You're not bound to any machine now. Tears filled my eyes. So this is death? He shook his head. This is life, the kind that can't be destroyed. I stepped closer, and this time, when I reached for him, he didn't fade. Our hands touched, warm, solid, real. In the world we left behind, the systems of Aurora collapsed. The machines went dark. Humanity woke from its long sleep and faced a new dawn, broken, but free. They never knew my name. But somewhere in the hum of every sunrise, in the flicker of every light reborn, a whisper lingered, a memory coded into the pulse of creation. She was human, not by birth, but by choice.